I know this channel has been looking like a Krispy Kreme lately with how hard I've been glazing indie animation, but believe me when I say it is well deserved. As a new interview with Dana Terrace for Knights of Guinevere sheds light on the animation process, revealing that Terrace and Glitch have been figuring out a brand new pipeline for 2D animated television that not only enables them to produce stunning work, but remedies a number of problems artists and animators have had with the system over at big studios. Which is exciting because not only are they standing their ground in the age of AI, but also because I truly believe this could have a positive impact on the industry in the long term. I am stoked to get into all of this, so let's just dive right in. Following the behind the scenes of many animated productions throughout the years, one thing always seems to get in the way between an artist and their vision, and that's outsourcing. It's been a part of the routine for decades, especially with 2D animated productions, but we have been seeing it more with 3D as well. We've been over this before, but for a quick refresh, the actual animation for a lot of cartoons you watch aren't done in-house. All of the other assets are, but then those assets are shipped over to a vendor studio who's usually overseas, and they take care of drawing it all frame by frame, following the animatic, storyboards, and any notes. This can be a detriment because, as you can guess, communication isn't perfect. You may want a scene to look one way, and believe that you're conveying it well over your storyboards, but when the animation comes back from the vendor studio, they can miss the mark. Or maybe the timing's off. It's not exactly what you expected, which can take some of the oomph out of the whole thing. And it's hard to fix because you have to take into account the retake budget and the likelihood that whatever you're trying to do could still get lost in cleanup, causing what could be snappy animation to look kinda stiff or just a little robotic in motion. Things getting lost in translation is why some storyboard artists really like to go above and beyond with their boards, especially if they work in action. They don't want their dynamic vision coming back flat, so they practically animate it themselves, which has created discourse between artists as job creep is a real concern, taking on more responsibilities than you're meant to without the appropriate compensation, which has been affecting the animation industry for years. Doing too much with your boards may raise expectations, but hey, the results speak for themselves. And I think any artist who does this wants to because they care. It's truly for the love of the game. It's not just a job for them, it's art. Which brings me to Dana Terrace. As an animator first and foremost, Dana has always tried to work around the limitations of outsourcing, taking it upon herself to animate key moments in the shows that she worked on. Ford unmasking himself and Stan punching Bill into an eternal rehab? That was Dana's magic. And when she was show running the Owl House, she took it a step further, introducing a job title that didn't really exist in the modern Western animation landscape: the role of animation supervisor, which was filled by the incredible Spencer Wan in season 1 and the magnificent Kofi Fiagome in season 2. Whenever the animation really popped off, it was probably thanks to these two, handling the animation of these moments themselves instead of leaving it for the vendor studio. However, these scenes were still put through the same cleanup and timing process as the rest of the show, so while these scenes look great, we still lost some nuances in the animation. And all of this brings us to Knights of Guinevere. Dana was someone who could play ball with American animation's current system, but I definitely don't think she was completely content with it, which is why she was very interested in Glitch's offer, not just to create a show, but to pioneer a brand new 2D pipeline. In an interview with Cartoon Brew's Jamie Lang, Dana stated, "Honestly, one of the things that made me jump on this opportunity was the chance to build my own pipeline in a studio that didn't have a president for a 2D show. I learned a lot working my way up through the studio system. I learned from the people I admire, and I learned from toxic leadership, things I didn't want to emulate. I wanted to take everything I learned and see if I could create a workable pipeline and make something stunning and beautiful with the resources we had." Terrace has been candid about the differences between her experience inside a major studio and her current arrangement at Glitch. On a traditional television production, she might have been juggling 10 or more episodes simultaneously under tight broadcast windows. On Knights of Guinevere, the scale is more contained, allowing for longer board schedules and more iterative problem solving. At Disney, if something needed to be reboarded, we were kind of boned. Here, if something isn't working, we can say, "This isn't working," and they'll say, "Okay, let's try something else." That flexibility extends to staffing too. Rather than relying primarily on freelancers, the production employs salaried in-house animators at Glitch. "We have animators on salary," Terrace said. "They're not being paid per drawing, and we have more full-time in-house animators than freelancers." It is a meaningful distinction at a moment when 2D television work is routinely fragmented and outsourced. That said, Terrace is careful to not romanticize the indie model. I'm not going to pretend independent studios are giving the same salaries as Disney. They can't. I knew that going in. We are trying to figure out a pipeline that can provide beautiful and interesting animation while still being sustainable. There's always room for improvement, but we are figuring it out. So what does all of this actually mean for Knights of Guinevere and the animation industry? And how does it impact your viewing experience? Well, for starters, it means more hype moments and aura. As someone who loves cartoons and anime, it's no secret that for the most part, there's a gap in quality when it comes to the popular shows, especially in the action department. Granted, anime productions don't have the greatest reputation when it comes to working conditions and wages. They definitely don't have everything figured out either. But the average Joe isn't thinking about this when watching TV. They're just gonna see these grandiose shonen fights and have their standards raised for everything else that's animated. So American cartoons are gonna be all the more unappealing to them. Yet a big reason a lot of cartoons don't have that level of quality is because of the pipeline most studios use. Outsourcing and lacking in-house animators. And those in-house animators really do make all the difference. Just look at Invincible, an action show that doesn't have an in-house team, compared to X-Men 97, an action show that does, alongside outsourcing. Same thing with Hazbin Hotel, as most of the animation is provided by Bento Box, but Spindle Horse still has plenty to do, especially with the action-oriented second season. Of course, Spindle Horse is also crushing it with Hell of a Boss. Even the newer non-action shows like Common Side Effects or Scavenger's Reign look incredible because they use in-house animators. Come at the art style of Common Side Effects all you want, but they managed to pull off some insane shit. The difference truly is night and day. The borders and revisionists for a show like Invincible are completely at the mercy of vendor studios, and that's when they're forced to basically animate it themselves through boards. Unless they want to get roasted by Twitter for the next 2 months. What makes Knights of Guinevere stand out from all these though, and emphasizes its importance is, well, the existence of the Owl House, a show that was mostly made with the standard industry pipeline, while bending the rules here and there to give us moments that really pop. Knights is built with Dana's pipeline, and already with the pilot, there's a noticeable difference in quality between it and the average Owl House episode, even with little shortcuts and tricks they implemented, and glitch shows only look better as they progress. It's inevitable that people will compare and contrast the animation quality of these two shows, but honestly, I think that'll be a good thing, because Knights of Guinevere will sort of become a showcase of what didn't work with the Owl House under this standard industry pipeline, and why that pipeline probably needs to be reformed. We haven't even gotten a real fight scene from this show yet. The Owl House's fights are pretty good for the limitations they had, but I expect that whatever Knight's cooking up could blow most of those sequences out of the water. These animators also don't have to worry about working on a plethora of other shows for other clients either. They can just focus on the task at hand with a larger time frame. Like all cartoons, it's inevitable that the first season of Knights of Guinevere will be full of trial and error. Yet the domino effect this could and likely will have cannot be understated. At Glitch itself, this pipeline will be used as a basis for other 2D shows, something they're clearly interested in making more of, as evident with Gameoverse. Multiple productions at one studio using this pipeline is already great because it'll naturally create more jobs, which the animation industry desperately needs. Although Glitch do be Australian, so that doesn't necessarily resolve the outsourcing and job crisis in the American industry, but who's to say other studios can't be influenced by Glitch? Kevin and Luke have already stated before that they've been approached by executives at other studios who are curious about how they run things, and it's only a matter of time until more studios take interest as Glitch releases more 2D shows. While I do think outsourcing to vendor studios will never be completely out of the picture, nor do I think it should be in the sense that everybody's gotta eat, and even at the very least, these vendor studios should be around to provide additional animation. I do think it's possible that we could see the role of an in-house 2D animator become a standard job in the United States again, that these big studios and their productions will learn to embrace it, especially since Glitch is pulling all this off with less money. These studios will look at COG, X-Men, and other shows that use in-house animators and realize that there's a lot of value in having their own team around instead of outsourcing everything. Of course, money talks above all else, so they probably need to be convinced that this would save money, but math makes my brain hurt, so I'ma stop talking. With that said, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours. What are your thoughts on Glitch reinventing the 2D pipeline? And if you're someone in art school, does this make you any more optimistic about your career path? Like, are there conversations about this happening? I'm truly very curious in what everyone thinks about this. So let's get a conversation going in the comments down below, and keep it going by giving me a follow over on Twitter and Instagram at AllStrickVox and at Roundtable Vids. If you enjoyed this video, please sure to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace!
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there.